if I say a script liner or help! Somebody help me, I've forgotten it. A script liner, there we are. We call it a script line, doesn't matter, I've forgotten.
Welcome, thanks for stopping by. It's time to learn with our friend Clive.
As a beginner, it is frustrating because what brushes do you need? There's squares, rounds, ovals, script liners, detail brushes, there's short flats, there's sword brushes, there's deerfoot brushes, there's man-made, synthetic, a mixture of both. There's bristle brushes. Whoa, the head explodes. I would suggest you get, say, a couple of squares, which are those, okay, or short flats. You want a selection of detail brushes from different sizes, from the very small to whatever size you're comfortable with. Some filbert brushes, which are those ones. You can get them in various sizes. You might want to get a fan brush or make your own fan brush, and you might want to get a blending brush. This is a very, very soft brush this is called a deerfoot. It's a very, very soft brush, and that can be used for blending in clouds. It can be used for putting in mist. It can be used for a vast amount of different things, fluffing up clouds and just basically blending. That's what I use those for. So let's look at the different types of brushes. What makes up the brush? Let's have a look at what makes up the brush. Right. Firstly, we got a handle. That's quite easy to understand because we hold it. Now it depends on the brush pattern where you actually hold your brush. You can hold your brush down there, or you can hold your brush up there. You can hold your brush in the middle. Some people tend to use it like a pen, but you can use the brush in many different ways. You can hold it like that. You can hold it. Whoops! You can hold it like that, or you can even drop it. So all that is going to give you different effects. So what I suggest you do is practice with that, and I will make a video on showing you what type of patterns you can get with these brushes. But we move then down into the metal part. Obviously on these they're black, and on these they're silver, and that is called a ferrule. Now in there, that is where the metal part holds the bristles, which is connected to the handle, obviously, and they glued in place. Now these bristles are in there, and they've been stuck together with glue and then pressed there very gently just to hold the bristles in place. Now that is important. The reason I'm mentioning that is because when we come to cleaning our brushes, you will understand what I mean. So that is called a ferrule. Handle, ferrule, bristles. That's it. That's all a brush is. Handle, ferrule and bristles. And very important that you remember, position of your hand on the handle gives you different patterns. You've got to look after the ferrule. There's a reason I'll come on to in 1 second, and we've got to maintain our bristles, because if we don't look after our bristles, we're not going to have very nice brushes, and we're going to start kicking ourselves because some of these are very expensive. Okay, now let's have a look. These are natural bristle brushes. Normally like a hog hair or something like that. We don't want to worry about the actual where they come from. It could be a badger hair, it could be deer hair, it could be like I said, it could be a bristle brush, a hog brush, and a lot of these different natural types of hair or bristle take a little bit of care, and you've got to look after the natural ones because they get damaged quite easily. Yes, and they can absorb a lot of moisture, and if you leave a lot of these in water for any length of time, they will get a bit funky and go all they'll just splay out of all proportion. And not a bad thing in some cases. Sometimes I leave natural bristle brushes soak specifically to get them to just spray out like this, because if I can get them to do that, I can use them for trees and things. Now so you need to prepare, you need to basically look after them in a different way, and we'll be covering that in 1 second. So you've got this is like a man-made bristle. Basically, it's like a I don't know exactly what it is, but I think it's like a Hessian type of bristle. It's a natural fibre actually. is a fibre brush. That's the word I was looking for. This is more of a fibre than the bristle. So you can get brushes that's got natural fibres, basically. There we are. They're natural fibre brushes. Very complicated. To try and keep it simple is hard sometimes. Yes. Anyway, so you've got that type. The other thing you've got is, this is like I said, this is going on to, this is a very, very soft, this is pony hair. This comes off the mane of a horse, this particular one. It's really nice and soft. Again, that's a natural hairbrush. This is a deer hair. This comes off a deer, I think, or a stag, but it could be a deer because it was expensive. So it's a deer brush. So yeah, that's a very nice soft brush. So they need special care. So you've got them. Now you can actually buy brushes, which is a blend between a man-made fibre, like a synthetic brush. Synthetic fibres. These white ones are talon brushes. They're like a nylon brush, a nylon base. So monofilament type of thing. Yeah, they're nylon. You can get them. You can get a mixture of this with a natural. So that's a different type of brush. The saw brush is a natural hair brush. I'm not too sure what hair that is. But then you've got the man-made synthetic ones again, like that one there, and they are normally used for acrylics. You'll see there's brushes designed for watercolors, like sables, and they're a very soft brush. Not very good for acrylics in many ways because they get they're a bit soft. You need something with that's a little bit more robust. Bristle brushes tend to be used a lot in oil paints because they take a bashing, because acrylic and oil paint is quite heavy, hard on the brush, hard on the canvas. So you need something really stiff for that, unless you go into glazings and stuff. But that's what they normally use for. But you can use any brush with acrylics because it's a water-based paint. You can use any brush, but be careful. Try to avoid the watercolor brushes if you can, unless you're going to use acrylics as a watercolor. Try to avoid them because they tend to be a little bit soft. So you need something like a man-made fibre or a natural hairbrush or even a bristle brush. But I would tend to err on the side of caution and say go for the man-made. If it says good for acrylics and oils, that's the type of brush you want. So without confusing the issue, well, that is a short flat. There you go. That's a short flat. This is a small one. Yes, a little itty-ditty one, but you can get them as big as that and even bigger. Yes. Some of the bigger brushes are really frightening, but I try to keep them under lock and key, and I don't let them out very often. So yeah, short flats. They are squares or short flats. There we go. So if you hear me saying on the lesson about squares or short flats, those are the ones I'm talking about. Okay, let's put them there. We've got detail brushes again. These come in various sizes. This happens to be a number 12. I got itty-ditty ones here. And there you go, I didn't get one out, so I didn't prepare very well. But they're itty-ditty ones, look. They're very, very small, and they go really fine to 0, 0 or 0, 1, 0. As fine as you want them, really. I can get them down to one hair. So, and these can go big as well, so I keep them in the cage also, and they can get really big and chunky. But it all depends what type of painting you actually want to do. And they normally are a standard size, but they come to a nice sharp point, so when they wet you can actually get some lovely detail painting, some detail effects. What have we got? We got rounds. Now these are what they call a round brush. Why? Because you can see they actually look round. So it's like a big detail brush with the end chopped off, so you haven't got a point on that one, so it's flat. So basically it's a big detail brush like that, but with no point on it, so it's called a round. And that happens to be a bristle brush. Again, we'll talk about that in 1 second. Then we got ovals. Ovals are basically a detail brush that's been squished flat like that. So you imagine that being squeezed, and that's the type of shape you'd get. So if we have a look at this bristle now, if I squeeze it in my hand, it'll go like that. See? So that's all it is. It's a squished detail brush, and they come in different sizes as well. And a square is basically a detail brush that's been squished with the edge chopped off. That's all it is. Yes, simple, isn't it? So that's what they call a filbert. I don't know why they call them a filbert, but that just happens to be their name. I don't particularly mind what they call them. They could be called Charlie, but it just happened to be called Phil. So there we are. There's a little filbert brush, and again, they all come in different sizes as well. They're good for rocks and things like that. And then we got a fan brush. Yes, there you are. So that's basically a short flat. It's been squished again. So if you squish a short flat really, really well, it'll fan out like that. See? Can you see? Can you see? There you are. So if you hit that ferrule, that's the metal part, with a hammer, you can actually splay that into a fan brush. There you go, like that. And I've been known to do that, yes. So you can play around with these brushes. So if you've got some really cheap brushes and you want to make a square into a fan brush, then you can do that. Yeah, I may show you how to do that one day. And there we are. So fan brushes, they're good for blending. They're good for blending, and they're good for trees, and they're good for grasses. They're good for foliage. They got a vast amount of uses. But you can paint clouds with them. So they are a really got a vast amount of use.